Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Zesty Zoy Pod. Today I'm joined by, I guess, someone up from Seattle again, the first ever lawyer on the podcast, Sarah Hack. Yeah, welcome,
Great.
Sarah. Yeah, excited to have
Well,
you on.
thank you for having me, Stanley. I'm so happy to be here. And thanks
Yeah,
for trying out Riverside, this platform with me.
yeah, Riverside, if you're listening, I'm on the free trial or whatever version, so please sponsor me if you're listening.
Yes, I'm really grateful for our mutual friend, Stanley, our mutual friend, Brianne, who nominated me to be on this podcast
Yeah,
in a public forum, and you couldn't say no.
no, it's cool. Thanks for being available on such a short notice.
No
Yeah,
problem.
my schedule is pretty packed these days, so thanks for accommodating.
Of course.
Yeah, I guess I shouted to Brienne. I think she left some questions. We could just start off with those and
Yeah.
see how long those take.
Stanley, because you and I we've don't really run together because we run together, but you are much faster than I.
That depends. Sometimes I'm slower too.
Okay, well, that's just because you're recovering sometimes, but we haven't had a ton of time to talk one on one. One thing about me is that I just moved to Seattle about 2 years ago, and that was right around the same time that I started distance running. So I'm excited to be here and to talk to you about running, but I'm such a novice. It's just the very beginning of my journey with this.
Yeah, and that's fine. It doesn't have to everything be about running.
Yeah.
Guess good segue is like, where are you originally from and why did you even move to Seattle?
I was born in New York City. My family moved a ton when I was growing up. Almost like a military family. I was in a new city or in a new school pretty much every 2 or 3 years. So I lived in New York a couple different times, in Florida, in California, and went to college in Massachusetts. And I lived briefly in Tokyo, and I lived in Madrid for a little while, in Madison, Wisconsin. I was kind of a pandemic escapee from New York City. I had been wanting to leave the city for a while, and the Pacific Northwest was always a place that I felt drawn to. And I have family in Bellingham. I have a very dear uncle who's lived in Bellingham for a very long time. He's well, I'm not going to say he's a world famous juggler, but he's an incredible
Wow.
juggler, and he has a heart of gold. And I have a very best friend from college who lives here in Seattle, and I have two god kids here. So this was always a place that I thought I might live someday, and I got a remote job during the pandemic and made my way west.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess out of all those places so far, like, is Seattle your favorite, given that's the most recent, or were there other highlights in
No.
those places?
Yeah, that's a good question. I absolutely love it here. And my transition here was a bit rocky. It's quite hard to move across the country on your own, and I had some very difficult things happen right when I moved here. We can talk about them or not, depending on how serious you want this podcast to be. Yeah, this feels like home now.
Nice.
Feel very embedded in various communities here. How about you? Does this feel like home?
I've been in Canada my whole life and I moved to Seattle like 2.5 years ago. So not really. Kind of, but not really. Like, I don't really have family out here. Like, when I first moved here, I didn't really know anyone, so yeah, it doesn't feel like home, but there's some elements that makes it kind of home, but not really because it's like 20 something years in Toronto. And then,
Toronto is such a great city.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's a pretty good chance I'll be there. I'll settle there in the long term. I don't know yet. It's
Yeah.
still hard, but yeah. Yeah, yeah, what are you most proud of in life?
Going right for the big questions. What am I most proud of in life? Oof, I don't know quite where to begin with that one. Should I talk about what I'm proud of in running?
Yeah, sure. You can just, like, did you ever imagine you'd qualify for Boston? And
No.
yeah, it's like,
Okay, so yeah, let's do that. So okay. I was a pretty competitive athlete growing up. I played a lot of sports, and I had always been a runner in the sense that I would run to train for soccer or run to train for volleyball or whatever it was. And I would run on my own too, 3, 4, 5 miles max. When I would go to a new place anywhere around the world, I would just throw on sneakers and run to get to know a city or, I just not necessarily to get to know a city, but to get the lay of the land. And anyway, so yeah, I had never competed in running. I had never raced until I got here, and my friend's husband actually signed me up for a trail race.
Damn.
And I was working at the WeWork in Capitol Hill at the time, and he signed me up for a trail race. I didn't even know what trail running was, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was a thing that people did. I knew vaguely about hiking. Like, I knew that people like to walk up mountains here and then walk back down them. I didn't know that people actually ran up and down mountains and did it for a sport to do that quickly. And anyway, so I got signed up for a trail race, and I wandered into the Fleet Feet store in Capitol Hill on a lunch break. And I said, hey, I'm about to run a trail race for the first time. Can you sell me some shoes that will help me with the race? And a very charming and wise salesman named Gabriel. I'm going to use first names, not last names in this, because I don't want anyone to feel like I don't know, maybe he wants to be named or not, but he just an amazing guy. He was like, lady, I could sell you some shoes. I could sell you some trail shoes, but what you really need is to train. And so and he was like, yeah, and by the way, we're about to be starting a training program. You can sign up. So I just got into the Fleet Feet training program that way. And it was total happenstance and very fortuitous. And then I was training for a half, and I got excited about instead of just training for that half trail race, which was incredible, by the way. It was called the Oat Trail Race, and it sells out every year, and I completely recommend anyone do it if they want to do a beautiful trail run. I got excited about running a full marathon as I was in this training program. Because I was new to Seattle, it felt like this really exciting thing to run the Seattle Marathon through the various neighborhoods in my new home.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll say one more thing, because that's related to pride and being proud of things. And Stanley, if I'm talking too much and you have more...
But it's all good. You can say as much as you want.
Particular questions.
You're the guest. Yeah.
But anyway, so the thing about that was on one of, with the Fleet Feet training program, the long runs are Saturday mornings or Sunday morning. I guess they were Saturday mornings then. And so on one of the very first long runs, when I first got here to Seattle, I left my home. I went on a long run. It was like some beautiful day. Oh, excuse me. Turning my phone off. It was a beautiful day in Seattle. One of those magical, I think it was like a magical day in April when the sun was out, but it's not hot yet. It was still kind of crisp and perfect running day. I don't always hang around for the coffees after, but that day I did hang around after, and I chatted with people that I hadn't talked to before, and I was feeling so high on life.
Nice.
I drove home from that run to my new house where I'm talking to you from right now, and my whole house had been burglarized. 2 people had gone through every single room, every single drawer, every bag of my house. And I walked into my house, and I thought that I had accidentally walked into someone else's house because I didn't recognize it, because I was new here, and I'm kind of new to driving because I lived in New York for so many years without a car, and I thought I had maybe driven to the wrong street and somehow ended up the wrong place, and then I started shaking. I was terrified, absolutely terrified, as I realized what had happened, and I was worried that somebody was still in my house or people were still in my house. So that was a very scary, very, very scary experience. And I'm so proud that, I just kept running. I think a lot of people might have stopped. I don't know what a lot of people would have done. It doesn't matter really how others would have handled it. I didn't talk about it at first. I just kept going to the runs, and I will say they carried me through that very scary experience. Sometimes I joke that we have a choice to be depressed or to run, and at least that's kind of the truth for me. Like I have struggled with anxiety and depression in my life. Everyone talks about mental health now, so hopefully it's not tired to hear me talk about that. Running with people makes me not depressed, and it quells my anxiety, and so I just kept going, and I felt this tremendous amount of pride
Nice.
and gratitude for Fleet Feet, for the Seattle running community, for, my wherewithal, and my fortitude to keep going and to run a marathon, to do something very difficult, to remind myself that I'm strong and capable and can accomplish whatever I set my mind to. Not everything. It's too late for me to be an Olympic gymnast. There are a couple of things, but do you feel that way when you have a major running achievement that you've kind of convinced yourself that you can do something incredible that you thought you hadn't, that maybe you couldn't do before, and you have like a feeling of invincibility? Or
I don't think I've accomplished too much in running lately. I don't know. I just run for fun. I don't. It's been a very long time since I've felt that way during a run. It's good to think about. Maybe I should be a better goal setter in running and do something like that one day, or feel that way one day. Something to think about for sure.
What motivates you to run?
I don't know. It's just, I don't have to think about. It's just like I can just relax and just listen to music, and that's basically all I do for like an hour or 2 hours or more.
Yeah.
And that's pretty fulfilling, or not fulfilling, just relaxing for me.
Yes.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have too much, or just, running is kind of like exercising. I like to exercise and listen to music, but I guess running is sometimes more fun because I can go different places, and it's always different, whether it's people or cars that are trying to run me over, or just something cool and new. Well, I just find it like fun, but what you said, I kind of feel left out, jealous. I kind of want to feel that one day too. Yeah.
Well, I think that you've accomplished so much in running. So I'm curious, do you ever feel like when you're in a race or on a long run, and do you ever struggle? Like, do you ever start to hurt or feel tired?
Yeah. Yesterday, there's one of the fastest people I know, John Doerr. Like, I was just following him the whole time, and it was very mentally and physically, but mostly mentally tough to keep up. And like in my head, I was like, at the end of the run, I'm going to be so happy about it. I kept up with John, potentially. And at the end of the run, I don't know, I just felt like, okay, it's another day of running, and I kept up with him. I'm kind of happy, but not as happy as I thought I'd be during the run. But so sometimes days are hard, like when I have people to push me, and
yes,
that's pretty I guess trains on mental toughness and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you saying to yourself? Yeah, because I think that's so interesting. I do think that distance running is so much about focus and mental fortitude, because, there's so much science, and I'm not versed in it, but there's so much science that supports this thesis that we can accomplish more than we think. We will think, I am getting tired, or I am exhausted. I cannot get up this hill. I can't keep pushing at 7-minute mile or an 8-minute mile pace, but that our body actually can. It's our brain that is telling us that we're exhausted and we should stop, and we can't do it, and we can't keep up, or whatever it is. If we switch our thought patterns and we start telling ourselves, I can, and I have the strength, I have the energy, that our body will follow suit. And I have found that a lot in distance running.
Yeah. I guess I don't push myself as much as you do, but yeah. Yeah, I've heard that before, and based off of like, yeah, online stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of mental into distance running.
You know, I'll say one more thing. The idea of meditation has entered the mainstream so much. You know, people talk about meditation for all kinds of different things, but one form of meditation, I can't believe I just did finger quotes. I hate when people do that. Excuse that gesture. But one thing that a lot of competitive athletes know is that the main way to accomplish anything hard is to visualize yourself doing it before you've done it. Which you know, I'm wearing my New York Knicks earrings for you
Nice.
because you said you wanted to talk about basketball.
Yeah, we can.
Well, we are sitting here on Super Bowl Sunday, and I guarantee you that every single, I mean, okay, I can't guarantee you that everything, but for sure the quarterbacks, you know, for sure Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes have visualized every single thing that could go wrong today and how they are going to come back and win. I do that in running. I do that before marathons. I think
Wow.
about what is going to happen if I don't even think about it. I see myself hitting a wall at mile 20 or mile 16 or whatever it is, and then I see myself like I am not going to stand on the side of the race just, you know, stretching or having some water. I know myself, I know how strong I am, and so I actually visualize myself still running. And I visualize myself remembering my why, my reason for running the race. There's a stupid business book called Start With Why. Don't read that business book. It's
Okay.
completely inane. Anyway, I see myself remembering my motivation for the race and for whatever it is.
Nice. And yeah, I guess that's the Boston qualifying mentality that
Yeah.
whoever's listening, that's what you need to do. Yeah, I guess if you could no longer run, like what other hobby would you pick up? And I guess you mentioned other sports. Like would you get more into like volleyball, basketball, or
Yeah. Okay, so I do love basketball. I have not played as an adult except horse. I am extremely good at horse. But volleyball, I picked up tennis fairly recently. I love tennis. I was obsessed with surfing for a large part of my 30s. The thing is about running, there's something about the simplicity of running that suits my temperament. If you love surfing, you have to have the exact right board for your skill level and for the ocean where you're surfing and the waves that day. You need a perfect storm, so to speak, of weather conditions to make beautiful waves for you to surf. You need to have the time and the resources to be at the right beach at the right time. If you like tennis, you need a tennis racket, you need balls, you need a tennis court, you need a partner who is about your level. There's so many things you need. If you want to run, you need almost nothing. And you can do it any time of day, wherever you are, in pretty much any shoes, honestly. And yeah, I just love that. There's almost nothing like that. But so I guess I would probably be doing more tennis. Let me think about this. What would you do? I mean, yoga and Pilates, I like those a lot. Of course, like any millennial woman.
yeah, I have other hobbies outside of running. I guess I could just pick up cycling, like something I've recently got into, and it's pretty fun. It's really similar to running, and like if the weather is not good, I can just go on like the Peloton or just some indoor bike. So
Nice.
and yeah, I'm not too good at cycling, so that's something I really want to get better at.
What does it mean to be not good at cycling?
I mean, like I don't know how to ride with one hand, even just like knowing how to like go on long rides. Sorry.
Not knowing how to ride with one hand?
Well, it's like beneficial. It's like if you're on longer rides and you don't want to stop and pick up a bottle and drink from it while, like I want to be like smooth, like a beginner distance runner. Like when they go to the aid station, you just stop there and then drink water and then
Yes.
continue running. Like that's kind of like what I'm saying. Like be a cyclist, kind of like
Cool, yeah.
yeah.
There's this book that I love that's called Feed Zone Portables. Have you heard of this book? So it's written by Olympic cyclist, and it's basically recipes for long bike rides. I make some of those recipes for runs, and some of the Fleet Feet people make fun of me. I make little rice cakes that I learned how to make from Feed Zone Portables. I make these date balls with nuts and stuff, so I'm having whole foods on my
Nice.
runs. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally I'm fine with gels, so that's what yeah, I probably will be too lazy for real food.
Well, maybe I'll give you some of mine sometime if you're interested.
Yeah, I'll probably try one out and realize it'll take me way too long to make and have probably the last one.
Do you like rice? Do you like rice cakes?
Yeah, I think they're fine.
What about, do you like dates and nuts or not so much?
I'd rather just have sugar and water
Okay.
on the run.
Give me some of the other questions.
Yeah, I guess another question we could transition slightly out of running. It's like, why'd you become a lawyer?
Okay.
And what do you want to be remembered for in your life?
Oh my gosh. Man, these are like the eulogy questions.
Yeah.
What should it say on my gravestone? What was the first one? Why did I become a lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that one pretty quickly. I worked in the movie business after college, and I started as a lowly assistant, which is where most people start in the industry. I started answering phone calls for these two very powerful independent film producers and doing all the things and more that you've read about or seen in the movies. I picked up laundry. I got lunch orders. I got the lunch orders wrong and had to, run and get corrected lunch orders. I got to sit in on a lot of important meetings, and I learned a ton. And I got to be on set, and I got to talk to writers and directors and all that. But I was very ambitious, and I felt like I wasn't progressing fast enough in the industry. This was, I graduated from college in what year? 2006. I graduated from college in 2006. So this was before the Me Too movement, before a lot of things happened that ended up putting women in more positions of power. When I was starting in the film industry, it was such a male-dominated business. There was almost nobody who was a woman who was running a department anywhere. So I decided I needed another degree to get ahead and to have a seat at the table and to be part of the conversations that I really wanted to be part of. And I didn't particularly want to be a lawyer. I was interested in the law, and I'm glad that I have the degree for so many reasons. Yeah, my whole goal was to get the degree and to continue working in the entertainment business in a hybrid legal and business capacity. And that's what I got to do. So that was very lucky.
Yeah, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What have you been at? What's the big film sets that you've been in? Anything you like to?
Oh my gosh!
I love some action movies and stuff. Yeah.
I've never been on the set of an action movie. What's your favorite movie of this year?
This year,
Or
I haven't
recently.
watched any movies.
No, it's so sad. Nobody's watching movies anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just name some random, the second Avatar movie.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that was cool.
That's
that was 2 years
beautiful.
ago.
That's a beautiful movie.
Have you been on the set for the first Avatar movie?
Wait, no. Well, so Avatar, yeah. Let me think about how that would have been shot though, because it's mostly CGI, right?
Yeah, motion capture and stuff.
Yeah. So that would be, I need to think a little bit more about where the actors would have been, because they were acting in some of it. It's not just voiceover. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I mean, I worked in independent film, so
Okay.
I worked in small.
So I probably haven't watched any of them. Oops, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I can recommend some to you if you're interested in documentaries or art film. I've worked on a lot of those.
Cool. Yeah, and I guess the second part of the question is what do you want to be remembered for in your life? I guess work related or life related. I don't know.
Yes,
It's pretty open-ended.
that is such an enormous question. I don't think about it all that much. Although I will say, okay, so I turned 40, which is relevant because I qualified for Boston as a 40-year-old woman, which is more permissive. I mean, it's still incredible. It's
Yeah,
still
it's
very hard.
still a pretty big time.
But I moved into a different age bracket and qualifying time bracket, which allowed me to qualify. So everyone knows I'm 40. It's not a secret. As a 40-year-old person, there are certain things that I know that I'm really good at, certain things that come easily to me. And there are other things that I am less good at and that do not come easily. And one thing that I have really committed to in the past year is to not just lean into the things that come easily to me. I don't know if you think about this because you are such a young man and you have so much life ahead of you, but when you get to be my age and you see people my age and older, you see them kind of, for example, people will show up at a meeting and they will just hear what they want to hear. They will hear what they already thought to be true, and they will disregard the rest. Or I even see it in myself sometimes when I'm reading an article. I read an article, I'm skimming, then I see a sentence that validates my worldview, or that, has a word that I particularly like, or some sort of stance that I'm familiar with, and I latch onto that, and the rest kind of floats away. And I really try to show up with curiosity about everything, and especially about the things that are hard for me, or yes, don't validate my worldview, or there's certain relational things you get good at. Like, I make a lot of jokes now. I make a lot of bad jokes. But when I have a need, when I feel scared about something or uncomfortable about something, and I know that I need to talk about it with somebody, but I don't. Something like that is a big area of growth for me. And so, yeah, I want to keep growing in a lot of ways and not let my world kind of collapse into what I'm good at or the patterns that I have already created.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty thought-provoking, and yeah, I'll definitely take that to heart. I still have a lot in my life, and you have a lot in your life too that's still left.
Yes. I love spending time with people who are different ages. That's one of the gifts of our running group, I would say.
Yeah, for
People
sure.
are so different.
Yeah.
So many different backgrounds, all shapes and sizes, levels of athleticism.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It really is.
I guess almost out of time, but I guess one final thing is, yeah, how do you feel about the Knicks? Like, I haven't heard from them in the trade deadline, but they're doing pretty good in terms of the current standings. So yeah, how do you feel about the
Stanley, I knew you were going to ask me about this, and that's why I wore my special earrings. I have to tell you the truth. I'm a football fan, and I have been obsessed with the NFL, and I watch some college football as well. So I haven't been able to watch the Knicks as much as I would like. I'm about to move over to my Knicks fandom because today is the last day of NFL.
Hey, we don't have to talk about the Knicks. We can just talk about Super Bowl. Who do you think who's your prediction for today?
I think Chiefs take it again. What do you think?
Yeah,
I would put money on it.
I'm a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. And yeah, that's the only reason why I think they'll win, or I want them to win.
I know. Well, you can't. Yeah, there's nothing you can say. I think between Taylor Swift and Patrick Mahomes, they're unstoppable.
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, this was so fun. Thank you for having me, Stanley.
Yeah, thanks for being on it.
I'm so honored to be on this show, and congratulations on everything. You're building this really amazing little world in your free time.
Yeah, it's been building for a long time, and yeah, glad to have you on. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this podcast.
So nice to talk to you.
Yeah, and good luck in the Boston Marathon and the rest of your life.
No, I'll see you. This isn't goodbye.
Yeah, I guess goodbye podcast-wise. I had to get a nice conclusion,
Okay, yeah. No, beautiful. Thank you, Stanley.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Stay zesty.